Motherhood is the biggest sisterhood of them all. Before we became mothers, we were individuals with hopes, dreams, and aspirations. But sometimes, as mothers, we lose sight of ourselves through the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Hi, I'm your host, Dawn Imani. Just a friendly mother that wants to chat about raising kids, chasing dreams, and highlighting the many inspirational stories of the mothers that do it. Just like that. So pull up, grab yourself a motherly beverage, and get ready to ride this roller coaster we call life. Condensed into a show. Welcome to MYLF Podcast, and it's time to meet today's mother you'd like to friend.
This is me, Danielle J, your up-and-coming queen of real estate, and I'm here to give you a tour of this beautiful home in the mainline suburbs.
You've made it to MYLF Podcast. Thank you so much for all of your support and for subscribing to our channel. Today, we have an amazing guest, Miss Danielle J. Mitchell. Welcome, and thank you so much for being a guest on MYLF Podcast. And please, could you tell my audience about yourself?
Hello, thank you for having me, my girl Dawn. I'm super excited and honored to be a part. I am Danielle J. Mitchell, your up-and-coming queen of real estate. I am licensed in PA, and I primarily do Philadelphia and the surrounding suburbs. And I'm just out here doing real estate and among other things.
Yes, you are. You are such a force to be reckoned with. I've known you for I don't know how long, but you've seen my kids grow up. Basically, we met while acting. And you just have such a great personality. I've seen you with your family and your children and your husband, and it's amazing to see where you were back then and like what you've grown to be right now. Like right now you are literally building an empire, and I love it. Could you tell us about your company? And I'm just so amazed. I just have to say, I'm so amazed by your marketing.
Thank you. Yeah, so my broker is United Real Estate Philadelphia, but I go by Daniel J. Mitchell and DJM Realty on my marketing stuff. And when you and I met, I was, exploring my creative vibes, a part of my creative vibes with exploring acting. And it was an awesome time and I enjoyed it thoroughly. At that time, I had a regular job, working a 9 to 5, focusing on, office managing and bookkeeping. And really, I got into real estate. I always wanted to own property. Um, in some way, shape, or form. Always wanted to own my own business. And I think a lot of times you can know what your purpose to do, but you get on this road of figuring out specifically what it looks like. I always feel as though you have a purpose and then you have expressions of how you manifest that purpose, right? So for me, the constant over the years since I was a teen was to be a business owner and was to own real estate. I didn't know that it would be marrying the two. At the time, I was a teenager and a young adult. I was focusing on graphic design. So when you talk about marketing, it comes from that. My first love was doing art and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, I had a career of going from graphic design to administration and accounting and all that good stuff. Now, realtor. And of course, all of those skills help me, right? So when you talk about marketing, I use all of that stuff I know. I have learned from training. I've utilized my gifts even in church and ministry as far as AV. So, doing my blogs, doing marketing. I did, before becoming a realtor, I worked at a nonprofit being a social media manager. So I think life set me up to attack doing real estate aggressively and prayerfully effectively. Um, so I'm just, just trying to, what are the things I focus in on, of course, is my marketing with real estate, but more importantly, being myself, being honest, being transparent, and really being teaching realtor. Um, there are many, who come into real estate, of course, for money and things like that. And yes, That's great. Uh, but my goal is to make sure clients come away making educated decisions, understanding what they want to do, understanding the process, and making them as comfortable as possible. And one of the key takeaways that I've learned in being a realtor and working with people is that it's not just selling a house, right? You come against a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, mental health, spirituality, so much when you are cultivating relationships with clients. And I would have to say that looking over again my life, my journey, it makes me very well equipped to handle different scenarios, which I have been a part of different scenarios in my couple of years in being in real estate. So
Wow, wow. You just said a whole lot there. I hope y'all are listening because you know what? And y'all don't know Danielle the way, because I've known you for a while, but what you're explaining is you're following your true calling. There
that's
are
true.
and sometimes we think, oh, we have to just do one thing and that's our true calling, but our calling can be different facets of who we are, little things like you said, the administrative end, the creativity, the management capability to be able to juggle
Yeah.
multiple roles at the same time, being intuitive when it comes to emotion, uh, like there's just so many things. And
So much.
yeah, and you have followed your path in the different directions, and it kind of brought you into what you're doing now. And that doesn't mean that what you're doing now is the end all be all, but this is where you are in
Right.
your station in life. And then you can always
Absolutely.
take that into different areas, like you said, with
Yeah.
ministry. And I know that you
Mm.
do some ministry. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
It's a part of my life, it's not just, what I do, it's a part of who I am. It's a part that makes up me, my relationship with God. And I believe in serving, right? Um, and so, yes, I do serve at a church, HFBWC in Ardmore. Yeah. Um, and I do serve there in some different roles right now. I'll be honest, I'm enjoying the semi break. I am a part of AV, so of course, everyone's AV everywhere, no matter in ministry or not, has stepped up, right? So, to help to facilitate, this time. So yeah, so I've still been, serving and doing ministry, and on top of that, who God is calling me to be, right? And one of the things about purpose, um, when you were talking, I was thinking about is that, it's so important to know who we are in God, right? And no one can tell us who we are but God. Nobody can make that definition. I always struggle with who are you? I'm like, I don't know. I know, but it's like it's so many manifestations of how I show up, right? And so it's so important to be anchored to who God put me on earth to be. Why am I still breathing? Who am I purposed to be? And who I'm purposed to be will manifest itself in different ways. So, for example, if I'm called to be a person who brings deliverance to people, it's not just in a churchy context. It's not just in a spiritual context. I do that with my real estate, right? I'm breaking poverty. I'm breaking mindsets in people through helping them find housing, through helping them break generational curses. And so how that shows up is a part of that's who I am. If I am God's mouthpiece, I'm going to be that. It's going to come out my pores, whether I'm in the boardroom or I'm on the corner at the shop, right? It doesn't matter, right? So when you're anchored to who you're purposed to be and understanding that it's going to manifest in different ways, no matter where you are, no matter where you're called to. Um, that's that's what I try to go by, right? So I always say, ministry is me. That's me, and everything I do. That's what I'm doing. And it could be having a very simple conversation, and we're talking business. But when you are who you are, you could be breaking down people's mindset by having a simple conversation. That's why I love this platform because this is one of those ways to do that, right? You can be a podcaster who's a shepherd, which is a pastor, right? Because you're cultivating a helping and journeying with people through this vehicle, right? That's it's who you are and who you're destined to be, but this is just a vehicle to do it. Go
And
ahead.
I love what you're saying. You're living that purpose driven life, and you do have to heed to the voice of God. You have to trust and believe that what God has for you is for you. And no matter where you are, like you said, if you in the supermarket, in the grocery store shopping, or if you're at work in the boardroom or showing houses, or just even at home with your family. I'm sorry, hold on for 1 second.
Absolutely.
At
Hmm.
home with your family, right? Then if God is speaking through you, he's going to speak. God used a burning bush. God used so many vehicles to
Oh yeah.
share his word. Why not? Why not us? In any
Hmm.
in any method, in
Absolutely.
any means, right?
And I'll just quickly add that with motherhood, that's who we are as mothers, right? we are we're cultivators. We are multifaceted. We do so much, and I think that we take even those skills and motherhood, as if like I'm just a mom, but it's so much more, right? And even one of your questions that you asked. In your questionnaire was when did you know you were a mother? And it was like always, essentially, if I could pinpoint it, probably as a teen. But you have sometimes I was that friend, giving advice and like, telling you what to do and saying cut it out or that's not right, or my stance on things. I wasn't just trying to fall into whatever everyone was doing. So I feel like it's a part of who you are, even before you have the words to form what it is or what you feel you're called to, your purpose, who you're destined to be. And it shows up. And even with my children, I'm a teacher and not just with schooling, but with life lessons, and speaking into their lives and, not perpetuating those familial patterns, as Iyanla Van Zant would say.
You know what I was thinking when you were speaking, how we're talking about living a purpose driven life, and God putting you in a place. It might not be where we want to be. We might just see ourselves as, oh, well, this is just where we are. I wish I could be here. But no, you have to be here. And as mothers, a lot of us, we get into that mindset of, oh man, I'm just a mom, I can't do anything, I'm no
Yep.
longer any good to anybody. But
Yeah.
we are so much to our little people. And
Yes.
if you can appreciate that in your life, we are cultivating our fruit, essentially, right? We are placed in our children's lives as seeds, and they
Yep.
are here with us. So it's up to us what we do with them. And where they can go
Absolutely.
will be so great and so beyond what we could even imagine if we just take pride in our station in life. As a
Yeah.
mother, as a wife, as a parent, we are called to be ministers to our families. So
Absolutely.
you
That
should
they're the
take
first
pride in that.
ministry.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Our family, it's the first ministry and it grinds my gears when I see women like I'm just a mom, And it's like just a mom. That is a leadership role. I mean, it is you're managing a household, you're managing little people. I always say I'm raising, people. I'm not raising kids. I'm raising people. And I'm going to find a life lesson and everything. You're sweeping this floor because you know, for whatever reason, whatever I feel like stamping the life lesson on. And it's so valuable. And I never forget my mentor said, when speaking about women, about mothers, he said that, it's not a mother, period, right? We're not a woman, period, a mother, period, but you had to add a comma. We put periods where we need to add commas. And I think, especially in this generation, that we have to embrace those commas. It's like there are seasons, right? It's a friend of mine who's a young mom, newly married, and they're like, I don't know how to, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And ma'am, your focus is baby. It's baby time. Like, especially being new, you know, new in the game of motherhood and marriage, it's baby time. And that's it. And if that's where all your energy is focused in this season, because it's just a season, right? Until your babies get more mobile and, start potty training and all that stuff. But it's a season. So you rock out that season. And then maybe next year you can move on to XYZ. So I feel like when we're talking about balancing, it's about balancing and recognizing this is the season I'm in.
Seasons, and it's okay. We in nature,
Yeah.
especially on the East Coast, right? The Northeast Coast, we experience
Mhm.
4 seasons. Other places experience different seasons, but
Yeah.
in nature, it is natural. It's the natural course of life. It's a natural course of time for us to experience seasons. When you're a parent, like for me, I have kids of all different ages. I've got the baby,
God
I've
bless you.
got the toddler, yeah, the kid, big kid, and then I've got a preteen, and then I have
Yep.
teenagers, and then I also have adults,
Hmm.
children.
Yep.
So and for me coming into parenting, I came in as you're skating, you are doing something so dangerous, girl.
Love it.
You're skating. I'm scared. Okay, yep. See, I knew that was going to happen. Come here. Come here, because you want all the attention. But when it comes to seasons, even your children are seasonal, because at some point
Absolutely.
in their lives, they're going to change. They're going to go from being an infant and totally devoted. That's why I wear this shirt, right? Because, and it's not,
I love
I
that
don't want
shirt.
to be provocative. I mean, it
Right.
is a provocative concept, but as mothers, what do when we are our children's first nurturers, right? So I
Yeah.
breastfed all of my children,
Hmm.
and I know that there's a lot of disgust when it comes to women using their breasts to nurture their
Hmm.
children. I mean, there's a lot of
Hmm.
lash out. You hear stories about that all the time, but it's so natural, and it's the most beautiful thing. You are literally giving your life to your children. Like,
Absolutely.
if but that's a season. It's a
Hmm.
season. And then your child is able,
Absolutely.
they grow teeth, and then they eat food, and then
Yeah.
they become, little people.
Yeah.
And so if you don't appreciate your station, your season in life, or their season rather, you're going to miss out on that time. You're going to miss out on that beautiful opportunity that you're
Yeah.
given. And so you do definitely have to be appreciative. And then with that comes that balance, because we know that with balance, everything isn't always going to be forever. So when you think about you're balancing something, that
Yeah.
load isn't always going to be there forever. So
Yeah.
you have to juggle your life, or make certain things important in your life, because knowing that time is not going to be there forever. It's precious. That's not just a little saying like time is precious, or your children are precious, or
Exactly.
it's important. Time is
Yep.
important. Be cognizant of the time that you have here. You might not even be able to be the same person that you are now, that you'll be in the future. So
Absolutely.
appreciate where you are right now.
Yep.
But I want to know, with all that you do and how you are growing in your business, and just with everything that you're doing, how do you feel as though your children are seeing you, or how do they react to you, and did they even notice, you going and moving into real estate, because that is such a demanding industry. And
Hmm.
but you've delved right in it. To me, on the outside looking in, you you've definitely okay,
Love
honey.
it. Yeah, I definitely dove, got deep into it. Um, yeah, so I love how my kids respond to it. It literally gives me such joy to see how they respond, understanding what I do. I get to teach them. I get to have them be a part of it. The one time over the summer, we went around the neighborhood passing out flyers. And they were super excited to be involved. Like, here you go. What's the next one? I got it. Or even wrapping up the papers. So like, I forget what they're called, like door hangers. They have door hanger little baggies, and wrapping up the flyers and putting them in the door hanger bag and all that stuff. And so I think my son did it for me once, just by himself, and then one time we went all together and we did it. And so it's just really rewarding to see how they respond and how they take ownership of it, if they them having a part in it. um One of the other things I appreciate them, they'll ask questions. I'm like, who's that? Who you on the phone with? Oh, mommy's on there with a client. And did you get the house? Did you sell them the house, mom? Did you get the house? Like, they're invested. Or they'll pull up my Tuesday tips at 2 on the YouTube, and they'll laugh. A little, especially my son. My son's terrible. He'll laugh because sometimes I get excited about my graphics, and so I have some pop out catchy thing, or I'm being extra cheesy, and it's like, wow, what was that? But it's all in good fun, and so I don't mind it too much. But they're involved. They watch my videos. They one time, my daughter, who's down here staring dead in my face. My daughter, I found a video that she made on her own, and she was touring our house. So she was like, "Hey, it's me, Rochelle, and here's a tour of our house, and this is our living room, and this is." And I was like, "So cute." So I love it. And another time, she I had, like, during that time, I had some lotion I was making, because I'll make lotion sometimes. And so I had some lotion that I made that was in some jars. I had some water bottles I made with my realtor stuff on it. I made labels, and I had my t-shirts that I made, and I had something else that I had. She's like, "Mom, like, look at all this stuff. You're just so creative." And she's like, "Oh my God, it's like so amazing." I was like, "Oh, here." And the powerful thing about it is when you see they notice, and you see they pick up on things, and especially the girls, right? From one mom to a young lady, when you see your girls picking up and understanding early that, yes, you can, be married, and you can have children, but you can also secure the bag. You can also be entrepreneurial, and you can also be creative, and you can also do these other things. So to be a living example of a person who's living on purpose, and that's the important thing, right? That's what I want my kids. You don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to do what I'm doing. If you choose to, amazing. If you don't, that's fine. But to capture and understand, to live on purpose, to do what God had designed you to do, for them to see mommy, serve at church, and also serve at home, and also do business, is I want them to see the rounded picture. And also be married, be loving, argue sometimes, but then make up, because it's going to happen. It's healthy to see friction sometimes, right? But it's also healthy to see reconciliation. It's healthy to see, hear mommy, um, talk through some of the struggles of, yeah, being an entrepreneur. Ma'am, 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 you're making noise. You're messing up the audio. Thank you. You can take that upstairs. Thank you. so,
I'm not the
so
only one.
right, goodness, just making noise, So yeah, so for them to be just able to see those things, I feel again, I'm raising little humans, little adults, and so life is real. I think not it's unrealistic for us to grow up and not see the friction that happens sometimes in our parents' lives, right? It's just not realistic if you just saw all the good stuff, right? Because guess what? When that kid gets older, they're going to be devastated by life and not know and have a frame of reference of how to handle it, right? And of course, you don't want the pendulum to swing the whole other way where they're just seeing craziness and chaos, right? So it's good to be, again, multifaceted and add those dimensions and layers where they can know how to function and navigate through life.
Yes, absolutely. You like pinpoint, yes, right in the middle of that bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
You really hit that nail on the head. I'm gonna keep saying this because it is so important for your children to see that balance professionally. If we're
Absolutely.
working, they have to see that mommy and daddy can carry that balance between going to work and being an entrepreneur is just such it's a thing. Like, I know there are people in my family that have owned businesses and things like that, but I myself wasn't, shown the ropes of that. And I think for a lot of
Right.
people, especially in the Black community, we don't really get to see how the businesses are run behind the scenes. And it's so important.
Yes.
I was having this conversation with my husband the other day. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when, because he does carpentry work. That's not his job,
Mm-hmm.
but he can do that. And I told him, I'm like, you
Right.
need to teach your children now all of this, anything, if you're banging a nail, with a hammer, show them how to do it correctly, because these are things
Absolutely.
that kids are learning, not because we're teaching them, but because they're watching us. And that is how they
Oh yeah.
learn. And if it's something
Yes.
that they are learning through experience, it's not even
Mm-hmm.
like, how school, we have to sit there. You don't have to pressure them to learn it. They're just kind of absorbing it. So
Yeah.
then when they become adults,
Real life.
it's just so
Yeah.
much easier. And I love what you said about seeing that in your partnership, your romantic relationship, your marriage, or whatever you decide, right? When you have a romantic
Mm-hmm.
partner and you guys, it's not always flowers and butterflies. There are times when
No.
it gets rough, and
Yep.
you know and we don't know, because if it's something that you're going through in the first time,
Right.
you're learning yourself, but it's how
That's
you
right.
manage through it. So if
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
yelling and screaming and being toxic, then your children are going to learn that. But if you are
Right.
able to collect yourself and manage through whatever problem or situation in a way that is healthy for you and for the people around you, then your children are going to
Yep.
learn that too. And I have to, being transparent, I'm not perfect at that. And sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
catch myself, I'll yell. We have to learn like how to manage that, because we don't want to get to the
Oh yeah.
point where things explode, because sometimes what I do is I'll hold in whatever frustration until
Mm-hmm.
my breaking point, and then I
Oh
get
yeah.
to the breaking point, and then that's it. So we
Oh
do
yeah.
have to learn as we go along, but then I see sometimes, when the kids argue, then they start yelling at each other, and that's not healthy,
Mm-hmm.
so right, teachable
Yep.
moments,
Yep.
we need to recognize, even just in that, maybe
Mm-hmm.
things might get out of hand a little bit, but even if we just keep that in the back of our mind, that what's happening right now, how I'm responding to it, is going to reflect through my children.
Right.
So take it back,
For
go sip
sure.
some tea, and we'll come back to this
Listen.
another time.
Yep. Listen. Take a knee is a Will Smith said on After Earth, and I wouldn't dare profess again that get it right all the time. Because there are moments, and I think that when we just try to develop healthy patterns and put them into practice, that's the best that you can do. But nobody's going to get it 100% of the time, 95% of the time, or even 90% of the time. The point is, it's like, all right, I'm a make the right decision this time.
Or at
And you
least I'm
try
going
to
to
make
try. I'm going to try.
exactly. And so it's about creating those patterns of making the right decision in the moment, right? So it's like I'm gonna do my best to strive and make the right decision. Maybe this time I won't respond.
Or I'll respond in a way that is, you know,
Right. That de-escalate.
de-escalate. Yes,
you
exactly.
know
Because
and so and it's true, it's about, okay, this time, all right, and I've learned, that's the best way to combat patterns, right? Unhealthy patterns is by, okay, this time I'm a change my approach, redirect, because when I do things that have become patterns, and clearly ineffective patterns, right? Like, this is not helping for progression. And it could be how I'm teaching my children or one particular child, right? It could be how I manage through scenarios of marriage. It could be in business, right? Are we able to shift? Am I able to shift and say, you know what? Let's not keep just doing the same thing here. Let's try to redirect. Let's try to do something different and lay a new foundation here and see if that works. And I feel like in parenting especially, you have to do that. In marriage especially, you have to do that, right? Because that's the only way change is going to happen.
what do they say? Insanity is continuing to do the same thing and expecting this a different result. You have to learn to change your behavior. And when we talk about generational curses, a lot of people say that with, oh, well, I want to get my family out of poverty. But
Mm,
it's also your behaviors, your mindsets. And we are passing those mindsets to our children.
mhm.
We don't realize it, because these are things that are just so regular. They occur regularly within our home. So we're like, oh, this is just the
Yep.
way it is. But no, it doesn't
Yep.
have to be that way. It can be a lot better. And even if you make
Exactly.
a mistake, you forgive yourself and then you redirect. That's the name of the game. And that's where that balance comes in, because you have to be able to recognize the duality there, the good and the bad. So which
Absolutely.
one is going to give you the better result? Because you could be petty. You could be petty, but you can also, step outside of yourself, step outside of your ego, and think about how this is going to reflect how your response is going to reflect going forward, because it's going to happen through other people,
Absolutely.
whether you're in
Yeah.
work, in business. Because I know sometimes, it gets tough. It gets tough out here in these business streets. You
Listen.
gotta type your little email per
The
the
great
last
thing,
email.
listen, the great thing about being your own business owner, if you will, entrepreneur, is like, you don't have to take foolishness, you get. And I have a very high tolerance for foolery, right? I actually do. But sometimes you buck up against things. Again, if you're bucking up against somebody's fear, anxiety, and generational curse, listen, you don't know how long that thing been there. You have no idea how long it's been, and I don't care how old or young, right? You have no idea how long that's been embedded in that person, right? And some people will buck. They can buck up against the grain so much. And I'm talking about in business and in real estate, let alone, other aspects. But again, when I was talking about earlier, how you combat, spirits, people's mental health, generational curse, all kinds of stuff, because it's a real thing. and people will act out, right? And when you're talking about backing a wild dog or animal, not to compare it to to animals, but the point is when you back people into corners and make them uncomfortable, right? Even if it's in their best interest, people response is something. Their response is something, and that will have you looking like the biggest enemy. Okay, you'll be looking like Scar from Lion King because, and you're trying to help, you know. And so, having these mindsets and stuff can be so, debilitating. One of the great things about teaching my kids and them seeing what I do is them understanding that I have options, right? Them understanding that if you want to go to college, yes, of course, I'm going to promote higher education, but you don't have to be boxed in. Whatever you want to do, go for it, and be great and be aggressive, right? And to teach them the idea of for them to be a part of my business, for them to be a part of what I do, for them to hold me accountable. Mom, when we passing out the water bottles, we put the labels on the water bottles and pass out to people to talk about your business. When we're doing that, so to see them, adopt it, because again, if I'm making them a part of it, they take ownership of that, right? And so they're excited to help. And so when you can kind of get them to understand even about money, understanding the fundamentals of money, understanding the fundamental of real estate, of business, these mindsets is so important. And the poverty mindset is so real. It's not about, you can be doing very well and have a poverty mindset, a scarcity mindset, right? It's like you have savings, you have a great job, 401k, all that good stuff, and that is all. Hey, you should think about investing. Who? Yeah, that's a good idea. And they will talk about it for 15 years and will not do it because the poverty mindset, the scarcity mindset is that I have to hoard this because I don't know what's next. And one of the things that's so powerful is that if when we have the mindset that our job is it is the end all be, we if we're running a lost cause race, when we think the job, and I'll never forget when I took a financial credit class some years ago. She expressed that even if you have a job, a 9 to 5 job, which is fine, but it should be a seed for something, right? You'll never leave legacy with just a 9 to 5 job. You it's not going to happen. So when talking about legacy, talking about being a mother, how will our name, who I am as a mom, carry on? How would that translate? How would that carry on? It's not just about last name. It's so much that you want to leave children, that you want to, and those seeds that you want to plant now, so that I'm 35, I'll be 36 soon. It won't take you till 35. You'll be thinking about being an entrepreneur now. Like one of the things I want to do is have my kid, um, she's very artsy. She likes to design stuff and start, having her get her pictures made, with t-shirts and stuff like that. Like, go for it. Why not?
You definitely are proving the point of having that balanced mindset will allow you to be intentional in what you do as a parent, how you raise your children, in business, how you conduct business with people. And one thing that I love that you pointed out was, even when you're in business, you don't know what other people's generational curses are. So when they respond to you, right, you have to be prepared for whatever's been simmering in their minds and their spirits for all that time. And that connects that ministry mindset, because you have to do everything for the glory of God. Those aren't just
Absolutely.
words, those aren't just sentiments
Absolutely.
that we hear at church. You
Yep.
have to put that word into practice. You have to put that mindset into practice, that when you are showing up to glorify God, and you are showing up with
Absolutely.
with that light inside of you. When we talk about being a balanced person, it's not necessarily that we have everything together. It's just that we are doing things with intention, and we are recognizing that things are happening at this moment and we have a choice. And I love that you say, I'm teaching my children that they have a choice. They don't have to go to college and get a 9 to 5 job and live that quintessential lifestyle. They can be entrepreneurs, or they could go travel the world, or they could do whatever it is that they choose to do. But I want to give them this opportunity now to show them and teach them, so that when they don't have to wait till they're 35 or 36 or 40 or however old, to get into whatever it is that they feel makes them successful. And again, I always say this in a lot of my previous episodes, success isn't the end of the journey.
No, you just made some great points, and you're absolutely right. And I think, when, again, when you're bucking up against, people's mindset, the generational curses and stuff like that. I mean, I've had to have some hard conversations, you know, and say, listen, we can cancel this deal for this house. I'm not gonna do this. I've had to have to tell and see, when your motivation isn't money. When your motivation isn't money, I am the first person. Okay, so we're terminating, or like what? Are we terminating?
That is so powerful too, because you hold the power. Like you said, when your motivation isn't the money,
It's
like, you
not.
can't hold that over my head. Like, I don't have
It's
to do
not.
this deal to
because
survive.
because it comes up. I mean, sometimes I feel like, I think realtors, are coined like a lawyer or a tax person sometimes, which they're out there. There are realtors, there are real estate agents who are out there that, just, play the game as a salesperson, and their heart, is for the money, for the luxury of it. And yeah, I get the appeal of that, but when your goal, especially when you have the best intentions for someone, for people, and they're getting in their own way, sometimes you have to have those tough conversations with, our people, any people, but especially with our people, like, you're getting in your own way, and it's cool. And I see that you're upset and you're yelling. And do we need to back out of this deal?
But I
And it's
think
all right.
that's what sets you apart. You That's what sets you apart in your business and what you do, because you aren't motivated by the material. Your intention is purely for the good of your clients. And that speaks volumes, and I
Absolutely.
love how what you are is part of what you do.
Absolutely.
You don't forget where you came from. You don't
Absolutely.
forget that you are a child of God. You don't forget that you are a mother and a wife, and
Absolutely.
that you are a caring individual. You don't leave that at the door to go make a couple dollars. You don't
Absolutely.
leave your business mindset at the door when you get home, because now you have to be a nurturing mother, because part of that nurturing is teaching your children what you've learned so that they
That's
can
right.
take that out.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I have to get you back on this show, because you hit so many topics, and I'm like, oh, girl, we're gonna have a show about that. So we are
Yes.
definitely, coming up in the next season. I would definitely love for you to come back, and we can talk
Absolutely.
more real estate. We can talk more, just we got so many things that we could talk about.
Yes.
But before we leave today, I would like for you to just give our listeners maybe a little bit a tidbit or a takeaway of advice, something that is special to you that has helped you in your journey.
I would just say again, when talking about the theme of balancing all the hats that we have to wear as women, as mothers, just understand the timing of everything and the season. There are times where the scales are not going to be balanced, but it is so much about quality, right? So if I know I had to put a lot of extra energy into my business, then I'm gonna make my concerted effort to have a movie on Friday night with my kids, to bake some cookies, right, with my children. I'm gonna make my concerted efforts for Saturday morning, to hang out with my husband, on Sunday afternoon to have my self-care time. I'm gonna make those efforts. And again, if you're going back to school, if you're going for your doctorate, yeah, it's gonna be unbalanced. But it's only for a season. And I think that's the biggest takeaway when you're talking about balance, because I think that's a huge question. And I will tell you, 2020, I had that question for a bulk of the year after some great advice. And after really just understanding, what, it's just not always going to be balanced. And some people will say it can be. I am one who believes that that bar is always moving of what balance looks like. It's always moving. But the point is to have quality. If you know you've been pouring your energy into one aspect of your life, into one vein, pour it somewhere else. Make the effort to pour somewhere. Again, if I know I got a deal I was working on the whole week, all right, we're going to take Saturday. It's going to be family day. So that's what it's about. And that's the way to how I balance ministry. I make sure I make intentional moments with my family to make sure they're staying my priority. And listen, it's not always going to look the way it looks for somebody else. It's not always going to feel like you're getting it right all the time. But the point is to be intentional and not to pressure yourself. Be in constant communication with your spouse. It's important too. Communication.
Absolutely.
And sometimes that gets out of whack too. But again, it's about coming back to center.
So important, so important. You have to remember that balance. And I love what you said, come back to center, because you want to center that balance. So you can put a little bit of effort here, but make sure that when that effort is, your attention is over here, that there needs to be some effort over here to center that scale.
Yep.
And
acknowledging it. I just want to
yes,
add that too.
yes.
So when you're talking about balance and everything, especially with your family, it's like, you tell your spouse, listen, I know we were supposed to, or I know I've had a lot of late nights this week. Let's set a time, Sunday. Let's set a time, whatever day, just for us, a few hours just for us. I know kiddos, it's been a crazy week, but let's set some time, and you have to do it in that way because it makes the people that you care about the most feel so special. And it helps to know that they're valued. And it's not all about work, ministry, whatever else, but they're valued.
That is so important. And I'm so glad that you said that, because we forget that. We may have the intention in our mind, you know what? I know I've been busy all week, but they'll understand. I'm going to spend time with them later, but we don't say it. We don't communicate that with our loved ones and with ourselves. Sometimes we fail to acknowledge things within ourselves. So I love that you said that and you put that point out there. Don't forget, ladies, you need to write that down. Okay. Because that's important. Thank you so much for all of your wisdom, everything that you have said today. It resonated with me. So I know that everybody is going to be blessed by what we talked about today. But before we leave, I would also love to invite you to tell us about yourself, where we can find you and where we can find your businesses.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on all of the above. But of course, DJ Realty or Danielle J Mitchell. I am on YouTube. So you can subscribe to my Tuesday Tips at 2, and I have some other content on there as well. But yeah, look me up, find me, and I'm always, in the business of helping people to find homes. So, she, me, her can help you.
Yes, thank you.
That's the properties, eat all of the above.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being a guest on MYLF Podcast. Y'all need to hit her up. Look Danielle up on YouTube so you can get those the 2 minute, what is it? The tips?
Tuesday tips at 2.
Tuesday tips at 2. So important because she's giving us all of the real estate advice. So if you're in the market for looking for a home or even investment properties, you need to reach out to Danielle Mitchell. Okay, Danielle J Mitchell. You've made it to the end of MYLF Podcast. Thank you so much for all of your support and for subscribing to our channel. Please follow MYLF Podcast on all social media. Special thanks to today's guest, the up-and-coming queen of real estate, Danielle J Mitchell, for giving us a glimpse of how she manages to maintain structure within her life as a mother, wife, realtor, and entrepreneur by keeping a balanced mindset. You could have chosen any podcast, and you chose to be here with me. Thank you so much for choosing MYLF Podcast. Please stay tuned for Season 2. Until then, stay connected with us, MYLF Podcast, on all social media.